We are going to quickly go over, hold on a second. Here we go. Okay, we are going to quickly go over this little PowerPoint. So chapter 17 PowerPoint really is just kind of an overview of what we've already been talking about. So we'll kind of go over that. If you guys want to, you can grab your textbooks. We're in the blue health science textbook. Okay. So there's a few different jobs in the pharmacy, and of course the one you guys are trained to be is a pharmacy tech. And like I said, you know, it's a tech doesn't necessarily have to be certified. It can be, you know, there can be techs that work in pharmacies that aren't certified. So anyway, some different jobs. They have an aide, a tech, and then a pharmacist. So pharmaceutical researchers are the ones who, you know, are typically going to try to refine meds to make them better, come up with new medications, things like that. And then pharmaceutical reps. They typically have a lot of the people who became part of pharmaceutical reps, like when I was in school, went in for like marketing. That was their degree. But maybe they took some science degrees or something else to go along with it. And then, but they just distribute information about something. So like when I worked at Children's in the hospital, we would have pharmaceutical reps that would come in all the time. They would like cater meals and bring them in. And then they would teach us about this new medication, whatever it was that they had, so that maybe we would start using it more. Okay, aides. Aides are typically kind of like the lower, kind of an introductory person into the pharmacy. So assisting clerical duties, clerks, cashiers, answer the phone, do the paperwork, check people out, maintenance. They typically, education for the particular job, they just get it on the job, you know, while they're there. They need to be really good at customer service because they're going to be the ones that are, you know, meeting with the person. Work in teams, basic math skills, and so forth. Obviously, no record of drug or substance abuse, and nobody who works in pharmacy is going to be able to have that. Okay, pharmacy techs, like what you guys are talking about, these work under the direction of the pharmacist. They take in prescriptions, they verify them, they prepare the prescription label, put the label on it, count out pills, whatever it is, pour, weigh, mix medications, answer the phones. It also includes some clerical duties. So it's a little bit of both worlds. Kind of have the aid work, kind of have, you know, whatever the pharmacist delegates to you. Now, in the end, it's all on the pharmacist. And so that's one thing that you need to know. You work under a pharmacist. So even though you're working it with your own certification, you're still working under the direct supervision of an actual pharmacist. And so they're just as responsible for any mistake you make as you are if you make a mistake. Training and education, a lot of people just get it on the job. Of course, like you can do programs like we're doing. PJC has a pharmacy tech program, so forth. So those are things. Some people just do it on the job and then they go take their test. The certification that's recognized here is the PTCB, the Pharmacy Technician Certification Board. They're the ones who actually put out the exam, and which we talked about already. Organization, following directions is really important, because if you can't follow directions, like when you're doing your homework, for example, how are you going to follow directions and put the right medication? Because sometimes it's step by step by step, and you guys will see as we get going. Okay, the pharmacists, they're the ones who provide the medication to clients. So typical duties, advise providers on medications, like if a doctor needs help trying to decide what to give. Counsel clients, that's one question that you will see in this curriculum. You as a tech are never allowed to counsel clients. You always refer them to the pharmacist, okay, if they have questions about a medicine. Now, so just know that, you know, if they're needing counsel, they need to go to the pharmacist. Okay? Pharmacist provides duties about OTC. OTC stands for over the counter. So that's any kind of medication like Tylenol, ibuprofen, something like that's over the counter. Make recommendations, give advice about equipment or supplies. They're going to deal with the insurance. Probably everybody's going to deal with the insurance. They may be, depending on what type of pharmacy you're in, they may be the one to hire and fire. It just depends on who they, whatever. Teach students, delegate tasks, training or education. Now, originally when I made this, I think a bachelor's was still acceptable for 5 years. But I think now you have to have I think all pharmacy programs are doctoral degrees, but don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. And I may be thinking about physical therapy and maybe, I'm sorry. Anyways, work location. So there's a couple different options. One is community or retail. That's kind of like, like Miller's Pharmacy here in town or Total Care Pharmacy in Commerce, so forth. That's just your standard CVS, Walgreens. It says over half of all pharmacy workers work in community or retail. They can be individually owned, like Miller's, or franchise owned, like CVS or Walgreens. The other place that people work is the hospital. So preparing IV medications, stocking the nursing stations with the Pyxis machines. Some of you guys have seen that, saw that at the hospital. Deliver medications to the room. And then assist physicians with information about meds. So these are all pharmacy tech duties, that it talks about. Enforcement agencies. So the two main agencies we need to look at as far as we are concerned is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, and then the DEA. Okay, now the DEA, anytime you're talking about a scheduled drug, like those narcotic drugs, we talked about some yesterday, or anything that has abuse potential, the DEA is going to be the ones that are going to, excuse me, oh my goodness. The DEAs are the go-to for that. Okay, drug labels. So you guys actually, why don't you guys go ahead and turn in your books, if you don't mind grabbing those. We're on page 17, chapter 17. Okay, drug labels. Okay, so all drugs have two names. For the most, not all drugs, I shouldn't say that. Drugs typically have two names. You have the trade or the brand name, and that one is capitalized. And then you have a generic name that it says this is the official name in the USP, the formulary, or the national formulary. So the United States Pharmacopoeia or the national formulary. So both of these are listings of medications that we use in our country. And they're listed about, information about their use is listed. So the trade name or the brand name, let's say we're talking about Tylenol. Okay, Tylenol is the trade name or the brand name. It always starts with a big T. Okay, versus acetaminophen, little a, is the generic for that. Now you can buy just acetaminophen, but anyway, so there you go. That's one way you can tell if it's the trade name or the generic name is if it's capitalized or not. Okay, the form, there's so many different forms of medication. We've got tablets, capsules, liquid. There's swish and swallows that you actually take a swig of and swish it around in your mouth and then swallow it. I guess helps to absorb it a little faster into your bloodstream through your cheeks. I'm not sure. Anyways. So, there's plenty of other forms. IV, injection, whatever. We'll talk about those when we get to the meds more specifically. A total number of volume is total number of tablets or the amount of liquid in a stock container. So when we're talking about total number or volume, we're talking about says this is the total number of tablets or amount of liquid in the container. Okay, and then route of administration. This is how medications are to be taken. Okay, and there's a few different ways. So IV, for example, is intravenous. PO is by mouth. It's one that you guys definitely need to know. How else would you give it? Could just be, I don't know, there's all kinds of. Oh, IM, intramuscular, so that's a shot. I'm sorry, I'm really, really sleepy today. It was a long couple of days. Okay, drug labels, warnings, so it says statements to warn about that particular medication, so that's something that's important that you add on to there. It needs to say if it's not safe for pregnant women or to take with food. Those are some examples. We also have storage info that can be on the label. So where it should be stored, like if it doesn't need to be dark, doesn't need to be dry, so forth. How is it gonna stay good the longest? And then manufacturing is usually, typically your drug label has the manufacturer on there. So let's look at an example. We'll find these things on there. Go over, oh my goodness. Where is it? Oh, look at 593 in the blue textbook. Okay, there's a Lortab label down at the bottom, so we'll see what's on here. Okay, so are there any warnings? Let's see. I don't see any warnings. Not safe for pregnant women or take with food. This label doesn't say that either, but it does say where it should be stored. It says dispense in a tight, light-resistant container with a child-resistant closure. Store at room temperature. Okay. The packaging, typically, sometimes you'll see things come in unit dose packs, and if you guys have ever used like Dentine Ice gum or something, and they come in this little foil package and you punch out the gum, that's an example of like a unit dose pack. They typically use those in like a nursing home or a long-term care facility. Multiple dose container, that's like your normal, what you get when you go to CVS and they fill out medication for you. And then child-resistant containers have, they're just harder to open. You have to press them down or do something special to make them open. But you can request not to have a child-resistant container. Otherwise, they're automatically going to put it on there. OTC, again, is over-the-counter. These don't have to have a prescription. Okay, whenever you see that RX, it just means prescription. Even though they may be the same as the prescription meds, a lot of times they have them in lower dosages when they're over-the-counter. So, again, over-the-counter means you don't need a prescription. It's over-the-counter. It's out where people can get to them. Okay, and prescription or legend drugs. Whenever you hear that word legend drug, just think prescription. Okay, it must say caution, federal law prohibits dispensing without a prescription. Even though ours doesn't say that on there, but it should say that. And then controlled, controlled prescription scheduled according to the potential for the abuse, like we said. Okay, and that's it. One thing I do want you guys to do is on that 17.2 worksheet, make sure you get that done. Just use that one. If there's something that you can't answer, the information is not on if the information is not on that particular drug, then just, do the best you can with what you got.